The judge addressed my daughter from across the courtroom, uttering 6 words that drained color from her face. The adoption is granted and finalized. After 15 years of raising her grandson, she had abandoned him, only to return, demanding him back as if he were an object. After everything she had put us through, I finally had that which she could never take away: legal proof of my guardianship. My name is Barbara, though I am known as Barb. I am currently seated in my kitchen in Ohio, the same kitchen where I prepared countless school lunches and assisted with homework for my grandson. Before I share my story, I would appreciate knowing where you are watching from today. Please leave a comment. I often wonder who is out there listening to an elderly woman's narrative. Now, I must take you back 15 years to the night my life changed forever, to November 2008, when the economy had just crashed and people were losing everything. I was in my living room, watching the evening news when my phone rang at 11:47 p.m. I remember glancing at the clock and thinking, nothing good comes from a call this late. It was my daughter, Jennifer, whose voice trembled as she said, "Mom, I need you to come get him." Him, I replied, realizing she was referring to my 3-month-old grandson, Mason, a baby I had only seen twice since his birth, once at the hospital and once when she needed money for diapers and formula. "Jennifer, what's going on? Is Mason okay?" I asked, my heart racing. "He won't stop crying, Mom. I can't do this. Please, I'm at the Motel 6 on Route 40, room 127. Just come get him." Within 5 minutes, I was in my car, still in my nightgown with a coat hastily thrown over it. The 20-minute drive felt like an eternity. When I knocked on the motel room door, what I witnessed shattered something within me. The room was filthy, littered with fast food wrappers, empty soda cans, and overflowing ashtrays. The smell hit me first, a mix of stale smoke and a sour odor I couldn't identify. There, in a car seat on the floor, was Mason, crying so intensely that his little face had turned purple, his tiny fists clenched. He wore a onesie that appeared not to have been changed in days, stained with what I could only guess was formula or spit up. Jennifer was pacing by the window, refusing to meet my gaze. At 23 years old, she looked like a stranger, her eyes bloodshot, dark circles beneath them, and her hands trembling as she ran them through her unwashed hair. She had lost too much weight. The girl who had once captained her high school volleyball team, with such a bright future, now looked as if she hadn't slept in weeks. "How long has he been crying like this?" I asked, moving towards Mason. "I don't know." "Hours. Mom, I just need a break. Take him for a few days while I get my life together. I met this guy, Derek, and he has a job opportunity in Phoenix. I can't bring a baby. Not yet." I picked Mason up, and the odor hit me again. When was the last time she had changed him? I located his diaper bag, mostly empty except for 2 diapers and a half-full bottle of formula that felt warm to the touch. "A few days?" I echoed, gently bouncing Mason in my arms as his cries began to subside. "Jennifer, when did you last feed him?" She shrugged. "This morning, I think." "Mom, don't look at me like that. You don't understand the pressure I'm under. I never wanted to be a mom this young. Tyler, Mason's father, left the moment I told him I was pregnant. I've been doing this alone." "You haven't been doing it at all," I said quietly. "Has he seen a doctor lately?" "For his 3-month checkup," she replied, another shrug. That was when I realized this situation was not temporary. A caring mother does not shrug when asked about her baby's medical care. A mother who intends to return does not view her child as a burden. "How long will you be gone?" I inquired. "I don't know, a month, maybe 2. I promise I'll call you." She grabbed her purse and jacket. "You're so good with babies, Mom. He's better off with you anyway." Just like that, she left me standing in that motel room, holding her 3-month-old son with nothing but a half-empty diaper bag and a stained car seat. I should have chased after her, demanded more answers, but Mason had started crying again, and honestly, I was relieved she was gone. At least now I could care for him properly. That night, I stopped at a 24-hour Walmart, purchasing diapers, formula, baby clothes, bottles, everything I needed, spending $300 I could scarcely afford. I was living on my late husband's pension and my part-time job at the library. But what choice did I have? Once I got Mason home and cleaned him up, I discovered something that made my blood run cold. He had a diaper rash so severe it had begun to bleed. His little legs were covered in it. How long had she left him in dirty diapers? I called Jennifer's phone 17 times over the next 3 days, but it went straight to voicemail. On the fourth day, I received a text. Can't talk now. Things are crazy, Mason. Okay, tell him Mama loves him. He was 3 months old and couldn't even hold his head up yet. Weeks turned into months. I called Child Services and reported the situation. They conducted a home visit and confirmed that Mason was clean, healthy, and thriving under my care. They attempted to locate Jennifer, but her phone had been disconnected, and the address she provided was for an apartment in Cleveland from which she had been evicted months prior. I took Mason to the doctor, ensured he was up to date on his vaccinations, introduced solid foods when he was ready, and witnessed every milestone she missed by choice. I didn't have much money. I had to quit my library job because daycare for an infant cost more than I was earning. $800 a month for basic care, the cheapest option I could find. We survived on my pension of $1,400 a month from my late husband's railroad retirement. After paying the mortgage, utilities, and basic expenses, there wasn't much left. Some months were so tight that I skipped meals to ensure Mason had everything he needed. I remember crying in the grocery store when I had to put back the good diapers and choose the cheap ones that caused Mason a rash. I would choose between buying him new shoes, his feet grew so quickly, or paying the electric bill in full, often opting for half and praying they wouldn't shut off our power. I learned to be resourceful, shopping at thrift stores for his clothes and finding a church that held a free clothing exchange every month. I clipped coupons, bought generic items, and watered down his juice to extend its use. The library became our second home, offering free entertainment through story time, puppet shows, and air conditioning in the summer. I would check out stacks of picture books and read them to Mason until he memorized them. Yet we managed. We always managed because that's what you do when you love someone. We had something money couldn't buy, each other and joy. I taught him his ABCs using magnetic letters on the refrigerator and created silly songs about numbers and colors. When he was scared of thunderstorms, we built blanket forts in the living room and told stories until the storm passed. When he learned to ride a bike, a second-hand one from a yard sale that I had repainted blue, I ran beside him for hours in the summer heat until he finally got it. When he rode on his own, we both cried happy tears. He helped me in the garden, his little hands getting dirty as we planted tomatoes and green beans. We would sit on the porch in the evening, eating popsicles and watching fireflies. These simple, cost-free moments enriched his childhood. Every birthday, I baked him a cake from scratch. His favorite was chocolate with vanilla frosting. We couldn't afford big parties, but we would invite a few friends from school or play games in the backyard, and he was always happy. He never complained about what we didn't have because he didn't know any different and understood he was loved. When Mason was 2 years old, Jennifer called out of the blue as if no time had passed. "Hey, Mom, how's my baby boy?" The casual tone of her voice made me want to scream. "He's not a baby anymore, Jennifer. He's 2. He walks, he talks, he calls me Mama." Silence followed. "Oh, that's good. Look, I've been meaning to call. Things got crazy. Derek and I split up. I'm back in Ohio now. Different city, though. I got a job at a casino. Things are looking up. Do you want to see him?" My heart raced. "Oh, sure. Yeah, soon. I just need to get settled first, maybe in a few months." She didn't call again for another year. This became a recurring pattern. Radio silence for months, sometimes over a year, followed by sudden calls filled with excuses and promises to visit that never materialized. Mason started kindergarten, and I was the one who held his hand on the first day, taking pictures with a camera I had bought at a pawn shop for $15. When he made Mother's Day cards in school, he made them for me, little construction paper hearts inscribed with, "I love you, Mama Barb," written in crayon. I still keep every single one pressed into a scrapbook on my nightstand. When he was 7, he asked me a question I had dreaded. "Mama Barb, why doesn't my real mommy want to see me?" We were making chocolate chip cookies, his favorite. I turned off the mixer and sat down at the table with him, this beautiful boy who had his father's dark hair and his mother's green eyes. "Sometimes," I said carefully, "grown-ups make mistakes. Your mommy loves you, but she's not ready to be a mommy yet. It's not about you, sweetheart. You are perfect and wonderful and loved. Don't ever forget that. He nodded, but I could see the hurt in his eyes. That look would haunt me for years. By the time Mason was 10, Jennifer's calls had ceased altogether. I attempted to track her down through social media, finding profiles that resembled hers but could not confirm. I sent messages that went unanswered. Part of me felt relieved. Mason had stopped asking about her. We had established our routine and our life. I attended every school concert, parent-teacher conference, and baseball game. I learned to assist with Common Core math, even though I struggled to understand it. I stayed up late helping him build a solar system model for science class and ensured he had the right clothes for school pictures. Money was always tight. I drove a 20-year-old car that made concerning noises and bought my clothes from thrift stores. I cut my own hair. But Mason always had what he needed. Always. When he was 12, I faced a health scare and ended up in the hospital, where they suspected a heart attack. It turned out to be severe stress and exhaustion, but it frightened us both. Mason sat by my hospital bed, gripping my hand, this nearly teenage boy trying so hard to be brave. "I can't lose you, Mama Barb," he whispered. "You're all I've got." "I'm not going anywhere," I promised. "We're a team, you and me. Always have been, always will be." Looking back, I believe that hospital stay prompted me to make it official. I needed to adopt Mason legally. If something happened to me, what would become of him? Jennifer remained his legal mother and could appear at any moment to take him away or place him in foster care. The thought kept me awake at night. However, adoption costs money, lawyer fees, court costs, sums I didn't have. I began saving what I could, putting away $20 here and $30 there. At that rate, it would take years to afford a lawyer. Then Mason turned 13, and everything changed. My father, Mason's great-grandfather, passed away after spending his last 5 years in a nursing home, and we visited him every Sunday. Dad adored Mason, calling him his little buddy. When the Alzheimer's worsened, Mason would sit with him, sharing stories and displaying endless patience. After Dad's funeral, the lawyer read the will. Dad had left everything split between me and Jennifer, his house, savings pot, and life insurance policy, totaling approximately $180,000 each. I cried, not only for my loss, but because this money signified security for Mason. It meant I could repair my car, set aside funds for his college education, and finally afford the adoption. The lawyer had Jennifer's last known phone number, sending messages and letters to her last known address, but received no response. After 3 months of trying to reach her, he informed me that the money would remain in an estate account until she claimed it, or enough time passed for me to petition the court. I didn't care about her share. I wanted mine to secure Mason's future. 2 weeks after receiving my inheritance, my phone rang with an unrecognized number. "Mom," I hadn't heard Jennifer's voice in 3 years. "Jennifer? Hey, so I heard about Grandpa. I'm sorry I couldn't make it to the funeral. Things have been complicated, but I heard there was an inheritance." My stomach dropped. Of course, that was her reason for calling. "Yes," I replied carefully. "Dad left you money. The lawyer has been trying to reach you." "That's great, really great. Mom, I know it's been a while, but I've been thinking about Mason a lot lately. I'm in a much better place now. I have a stable job, a nice apartment. I think it's time I stepped up and became the mom I should have been." I felt as though the floor had dropped out from beneath me. "Jennifer, Mason is 13 years old. You haven't seen him in over a decade." "I know, and I feel terrible about that. But people change, Mom. I've changed. With this inheritance, I can give him a good life, things you can't afford." "No offense." The words struck like a slap. "No offense, Jennifer. I've been providing for him for 13 years. Love, stability, a home. I appreciate that, but he's my son. Legally and biologically, he's mine. I believe it's time he came home." If you find this story infuriating, please subscribe, as what happened next is unbelievable. "Jennifer," I stated, striving to maintain my composure, "you cannot simply appear after 13 years and expect to take him. He doesn't even know you." "Then we'll get to know each other," she replied. "I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm his mother. The law is on my side. I'm merely informing you as a courtesy because you've been helping out." "Helping out?" I echoed incredulously. When had she planned this? I need to get the inheritance squared away first, obviously. Set up a bigger apartment or maybe a house. Give him a nice room. Just give me a couple of months. We can do a transition, have him visit on weekends or something. She was planning this as if he were a pet being rehomed, not a child, her child, who wouldn't even recognize her face. After she hung up, I sat in my kitchen and cried. Then I grew angry and determined. The next morning, I contacted a family lawyer named Patricia Mills, who came highly recommended. I relayed everything: the abandonment, the 13 years, and Jennifer's sudden reappearance. Do you have any documentation of the abandonment? Patricia inquired. I retrieved the folder I had maintained since day one: child services reports, medical records showing I had taken Mason to all his appointments, school records listing me as his guardian, and receipts for everything I had purchased over the years. I had saved them not for legal reasons, but to qualify for tax breaks. Patricia smiled. This is good, really good. We can petition for adoption based on abandonment. In Ohio, if a parent has not had contact with a child for a year or more and has not provided support, it constitutes grounds for termination of parental rights. But she will fight it, I warned, sensing her intent. She wants him back because of the money. Then we will prove that in court. Barbara, I need to be honest with you. This will not be inexpensive. We're looking at around $8,000 in legal fees, possibly more if she contests aggressively. I considered my inheritance, the money I had planned to save for Mason's college and our security. But what good was money if I lost him? Let's proceed, I decided. We filed the petition in February. Jennifer was served papers in March, and that's when chaos ensued. She appeared at my house on a Tuesday afternoon. I saw her through the window and nearly didn't recognize her. She looked good, dressed in new clothes with a professional haircut and designer purse. The inheritance money was clearly being put to use. I opened the door but did not invite her in. You're trying to adopt my son, she seethed with rage. How dare you? Jennifer, keep your voice down. Mason will be home from school any minute. I don't care. You can't do this. He's my son. He was your son, I responded quietly. You relinquished that right when you abandoned him 13 years ago. I didn't abandon him. I left him with his grandmother temporarily. Temporary means 13 years, Jennifer. Do you understand that? I was young. I was struggling. I did what I thought was best for him. You did what was easiest for you. There's a difference. Mason's bus pulled up, and I watched him get off, backpack slung over his shoulder, my heart breaking. He saw Jennifer standing on the porch and froze. Who's that? He asked, ignoring her completely. Jennifer's face crumpled. Mason, baby, it's me. It's your mom. He looked at me, confused. My mom? Your birth mother? I clarified gently. We talked about her, remember? Understanding dawned on his face, quickly followed by anger. At 13, he was old enough to comprehend what her absence meant. Cool, he said flatly. Mama Barb, can we go inside? I have homework. Mason, wait, Jennifer began. I don't know you, he stated firmly, and I don't want to. He brushed past both of us and entered the house, slamming the door. Tears streamed down Jennifer's face as she turned to me. You turned him against me. I didn't have to, I replied. You did that yourself. She departed, vowing, I'll see you in court. The following months were a nightmare. Jennifer hired a competent lawyer, funded by her inheritance, a high-profile attorney from downtown known for winning difficult cases. They portrayed me as an elderly woman attempting to steal a child, claiming Jennifer had maintained regular contact over the years. She hadn't. We had phone records to support this. They alleged she had sent money for Mason's care. She hadn't sent a single check or dollar. They raised concerns about my age, 67, and suggested I might not be capable of raising a teenager. Can you imagine using my mortality as a weapon against me? They demanded a custody evaluation, and a court-appointed psychologist interviewed all of us. There were hours of questioning, psychological tests, and home visits. The psychologist toured my home, observing Mason's bedroom decorated with baseball posters and a bookshelf filled with books we had read together. She interviewed each of us separately and together. When she met with Mason, I was not permitted in the room. I paced the waiting room for 2 hours, terrified of what questions they were asking him, worried he might be confused or misinterpret his words. When he exited, He was crying, not due to the interview's difficulty, but from fear. She asked me where I want to live, he told me in the car. I said, with you. But Mama Barb, what if they make me go with her? What if the judge says I have to? That's not going to happen, I reassured him, praying I was correct. We have a good lawyer. We have the truth on our side. But she's my real mom. Doesn't that matter? You know what matters? I pulled the car over and turned to face him. Love matters. Being there matters. She might be your biological mother, but I'm the one who raised you. I'm the one who loves you, and no judge will overlook 13 years of that. The custody evaluator's report returned in our favor, noting Mason's evident bond with me, his comfort and security in my home, and the fact that Jennifer was essentially a stranger to him. She recommended that if any custody were granted to Jennifer, it should only be for supervised visits, with primary custody remaining with me. Jennifer, however, refused to give up. Her lawyer argued that with her newfound financial stability, she could provide a better life for Mason, better schools, opportunities, things I couldn't afford. That hurt because it was partially true. With my fixed income, I couldn't give Mason everything. We had never taken a real vacation, and he wore secondhand clothes. Our house was old and needed repairs I couldn't afford. But he was happy. He was loved. I would not allow anyone to suggest that wasn't sufficient. The court date was set for August, 6 months after we filed. Those 6 months felt like years. Jennifer attempted to see Mason twice more. Each time, he refused. She sent gifts, expensive ones, such as an iPad, designer shoes, and video games. He left them unopened in the garage. I don't want her stuff, he told me. I just want her to go away. My lawyer prepared me for trial, organizing our evidence, every document, every receipt, every school paper I had saved with my signature on it. We had witnesses lined up, Mason's teachers, neighbors, and his baseball coach, all ready to testify about the life we had built together. But Jennifer's lawyer had something too, the law. The biological reality that Mason was her son, coupled with the fact that she had never had her parental rights legally terminated. The argument that 13 years ago she had been a struggling young woman who made a difficult choice, and now she was ready to make it right. It was a compelling argument, a sympathetic one, and I was terrified it might succeed. The night before the trial, I couldn't sleep. I sat in the kitchen at 2 a.m., drinking tea and contemplating the worst-case scenario. What if I lost? What if they granted her custody? Would Mason ever forgive the system? Would he ever forgive me for not fighting hard enough? Mason came downstairs, unable to sleep as well. Hey, kiddo, I said. Want some hot chocolate? He nodded and sat across from me. We made the hot chocolate together, just as we had countless times before, adding extra marshmallows because why not? Mama Barb, he said quietly, if the judge says I have to go with her, I'll run away. I swear I will. I'll find a way back to you. That's not going to happen, I reassured him. But if it does, I need you to know you're my real mom, not her. Nothing some judge says will change that. I hugged him tightly, allowing myself to cry. The courthouse was intimidating, with its marble and wood paneling echoing footsteps. The building itself felt designed to make you feel small and insignificant. Jennifer was already there with her lawyer, dressed in a perfect navy suit that likely cost more than my entire wardrobe. Her hair was professionally styled and her makeup flawless. She exuded success and responsibility, everything about her signaling, I have money, I have resources I can provide. I wore my best dress, 10 years old but clean and pressed, the same dress I had worn to my husband's funeral. My shoes were sensible flats from Payless, and I carried a worn purse that had seen better days. Patricia Mills stood beside me, calm and confident in her simple gray suit. She advised me that morning, don't try to appear as something you're not. The judge will see through that. Just be yourself. I was the woman who had raised that boy with nothing but love and determination. Mason had to wait outside the courtroom with a victim advocate as he wasn't allowed to be present for most of the proceedings. However, he would be called in to speak with the judge privately if deemed necessary. The last glimpse I had before the courtroom doors closed was of his anxious face, trying so hard to be brave for me. The trial commenced. Jennifer's lawyer went first, painting a portrait of a young woman overwhelmed by circumstances who had made the difficult decision to temporarily place her son with his grandmother while she got her life together. Someone who had always intended to reclaim her parental role once stable and who was now ready to be the mother Mason deserved. They glossed over the 13 years, making it sound like 5 minutes. Then it was our turn. Patricia was brilliant. She meticulously walked through every year, every milestone, every moment Jennifer had missed by choice. She entered into evidence the child services reports, medical records, and school documents. She demonstrated how many times I had attempted to contact Jennifer only to be ignored. Then she called me to the stand. "Mrs. Walsh," Patricia began, "how many times did Jennifer contact you about Mason in the first 5 years of his life?" "4 times," I replied. "Brief phone calls. She never asked to see him, never requested pictures, never provided money or support. And in the 5 years following that, twice. 2 phone calls, maybe 10 minutes each. And in the last 3 years before she learned of the inheritance, 0 times." Patricia allowed that to resonate. "Mrs. Walsh, why are you seeking to adopt Mason?" I looked at Jennifer, truly observing her for the first time. I saw not remorse or love, but calculation. This was about money and control, not about a child she had missed. "Because he's my son," I stated simply. "Maybe not by birth, but in every way that matters. I've loved him, raised him, and sacrificed for him. I've been there for every nightmare, every fever, every triumph and heartbreak. I'm simply asking the court to make it official." Jennifer took the stand next. Her lawyer attempted to rehabilitate her image, but Patricia's cross-examination was devastating. "Miss Walsh, when is Mason's birthday?" Jennifer blinked. October." "It's September 3rd, Patricia replied quietly. "September 3rd, 2008. When was his last doctor's appointment?" "I don't know. Recently." "2 weeks ago. He had a physical for baseball tryouts. What position does he play?" Silence. "Shortstop," Patricia supplied. "What's his favorite subject in school?" More silence. "History, specifically World War II history. He did a project on D-Day that won first place at the school fair. Were you aware of that?" "No. What size shoe does he wear? What's his best friend's name? What's he allergic to? What does he want to be when he grows up?" Jennifer could not answer a single question, and everyone in that courtroom recognized it. She did not know her son because she had never bothered to try. The judge called for a recess. Upon returning, he requested to speak with Mason privately, just the judge and Mason in his chambers. Mason was in there for 45 minutes. When he emerged, his eyes were red, but his expression was resolute. We reconvened in the courtroom. The judge appeared fatigued, as if the case weighed heavily on him. "I have reviewed all the evidence," he began. "I have listened to the testimonies and consulted with Mason. This is not an easy decision, as the law generally favors preserving parental rights. However, the law also requires us to consider what is in the best interest of the child." He looked at Jennifer. "Miss Walsh, I believe you when you say you care about your son, but caring is not enough. Being a parent necessitates presence, sacrifice, and unconditional love. For 13 years, you chose not to be involved in Mason's life. You had opportunities and the ability to call, to visit, to be engaged. You chose not to take those opportunities." At this, Jennifer began to cry. The judge turned to me. "Mrs. Walsh, I have seen the evidence of your dedication to this child. I have witnessed 13 years of love documented in school papers, medical records, and photographs. I have spoken with a young man who is articulate, well-adjusted, and aware of where his home is and who his mother is." My heart raced so fast I thought I might faint. "Miss Walsh," he addressed Jennifer, "your parental rights are hereby terminated. The adoption petition is granted and finalized. Mason Walsh is now legally the son of Barbara Walsh." The courtroom erupted. Jennifer screamed while her lawyer attempted to calm her down. I sat there in shock. It was over. He was mine, legally, officially, permanently mine. Patricia hugged me, congratulating me, but I barely heard her. All I could think was that I needed to tell Mason. They allowed me to go to him. He was in the waiting room with a court advocate, and the moment he saw my face, he knew. "We won?" he asked. "We won," I confirmed. He crashed into my arms, this teenage boy trying so hard to appear tough, and we both cried. In the brief aftermath, that was 3 months ago. We returned home that day and ordered pizza, his favorite, with pepperoni and extra cheese. We watched silly movies and didn't discuss the trial, Jennifer, or any of it. We simply existed together. Jennifer attempted to appeal, but her lawyer informed her it was futile. The judge's ruling was solid. She sent a few angry emails, which my lawyer advised me to ignore. Eventually, they ceased. The inheritance money is now in a college fund for Mason. Some of it covered adoption fees, but what remains will help secure the future he deserves. He still calls me Mama Barb. I'm having his birth certificate reissued, listing me as his legal mother. Sometimes I gaze at it and cannot believe it is real. When people ask if I regret the years of struggle, the money spent, and the life I put on hold to raise him, my answer is simple: not for 1 second. Mason is my son. He always has been, and now the world acknowledges it too. Kindly subscribe to my channel. See you in the next video.